Strangers, Essays on the Human and Non-Human by Rebecca Tamás, designed by Patrick Fisher and published by Makina Books, 2020. Audio description written and read by Caroline Dawson. The publication measures 193 millimeters in height and 156 millimeters in width. This is a bit bigger and boxier than a standard trade paperback book, a few millimeters taller in height and 27 millimeters wider, around the same width wider as two fingers placed together. The cover is printed on 300 GSM weight, rough offset paper using a traditional 4-color lithographic printing press. The spine is 0.7 centimeters in depth and holds 112 inner pages of 100 GSM weight rough offset paper. The cover has not been laminated, which allows for the emphasis of both the rough texture of the paper and the lithographic printing process. On the inside of the front and back cover, there is an inner flap. Each of the flaps are 100 millimeters in width and the same height as the cover. The cover is printed in one long piece of paper. The flaps are then scored at the front and back. The cover is glued down to the pages, then creased, drawn on, hinged, and side-glued. After the pages are assembled with the cover, the book is folded, gathered, notched, slotted, unsewn, bound and block-trimmed by the foredge only, the outer vertical edge of the pages of a book. The cover and the outer sides of the inner flaps are matte green. The green is based on the colour of moss, woodlands, and it is inspired by signage within Dartmoor National Park, a vast moorland in the county of Devon. The design of the cover is loosely based on the Green Man, an ancient pagan symbol. He represents the cycle of life, death and rebirth, and proclaims the arrival of spring after an endless winter, with lush green vegetation sprouting around his head. Front cover. There are 2 different fonts on the front cover in 4 different sizes. The title, Strangers, is aligned centrally across the top of the cover, 1 index finger width from the top, with an equal thumb-width sized gap on either side of the edges of the book. The font is black, and the largest of the 4 different sizes in 75-point size. It curves and tapers from thick to narrow, with pointed ends and counters, the inner circles of the letters, tilted to the left. Printed below, over 2 lines, the same font reads, Essays on the Human and Non-Human. The E of Essays and the H of Human are aligned underneath the bottom curve of the S of Strangers. The subtitle is orientated to the left of the cover. The font of the subtitle is white and a little less than half the size of the title font size in 24-point font. Rebecca Tamás, the name of the author, is aligned in a central position, 1 index finger from the bottom of the cover, with an equal thumb-width sized gap on either sides of the edges of the book. The name is written in black, in the same font as the title. In terms of size, it sits between the title and subtitle in 48-point. There is a quote placed at the bottom right, just above the author's surname. Split over 4 lines, it reads, Deeply rooted in folklore and the fragility of existence, a stunning work of inquiry and eloquence. Sinead Gleeson. The quote and author of the quote's name are printed in the smallest font seen on the front cover, 13-point. The font is minimal and the author's name is in bold. The quotation marks at either side of the quote look like exaggerated isosceles triangles and are in the same font as the title, subtitle, and author's name. The quote and the punctuation are white. The dash and the name of the quote author are black. Slightly above the center of the front cover, there are two leaf motifs nestled between the subtitle and the quote. The pointed end of the leaf on the left points slightly downward to the left side of the cover. The leaf on the right is lower than the left leaf. It points upwards to the right side of the cover. Both of the leaves are printed in white, with simple jagged outlines and smooth inner veins. They are both 70 millimeters in length and 40 millimeters in width at their longest and widest points. They are the same leaf in design. The left is a 180-degree flip of the right. Within the center of each of the leaves, there is a black circle around 10 millimeters in diameter. Each of the circles are outlined with a black circular outer ring. Outlined in white, a thin stem comes from the bottom of each of the leaves. The stem from the left leaf, curves down and further over to the left. The stem from the right leaf falls downwards in a vertical line and then curves over to the left to join with the left stem below the bottom of the left leaf. The joined stem continues moving over to the left and curves downwards to the bottom left of the front cover, where it exits the page. At the left of the front cover, there is a scored indent which runs from the top of the page to the bottom and is around 9 millimeters from the left of the cover. Front inner flap. The inner flap on the inside of the front cover is the same height as the cover and 100 millimeters in width. This is similar in width to the palm of an adult-sized hand, with all fingers pressed together. The front face of the flap is the same green as the front cover it leads on from. At the top half of the flap, there is a small title in size 15-point font. It is the same font as the title and author's name on the front cover. Like these, it is black. It reads, "About Strangers." The header is aligned a few millimeters further from the top of the flap than the left and right side. Aligned directly below the header, there is more text in white. The font here is the same simple font as seen on the quote on the front cover. It is in size 10 point. The text reads, "In Strangers, Rebecca Tamás explores where the human and non-human meet, and why this delicate connection just might be the most important relationship of our times." From On Watermelon to On Grief, Tamás's essays are exhilarating to read in their radical and original exploration of the links between the environmental, the political, the folkloric, and the historical. From thinking stones to fairgrounds, from colliding planets to transformative cockroaches, Tamás's lyrical perspective takes the reader on a journey between body, land, and spirit, exploring a new ecological vision from our fractured, fragile world. At the bottom of the inner front flap, aligned to the left, like the above, there are two lines of the same font as the above text, this time in black and bold. The first row of the text reads, makinabooks.com. The second row reads, at Makina Books. The inside of the inner front flap is black with a pattern of outlines like the stem of the leaf twiddling and crisscrossing across it in 3 colours: dark grey, white, and green. The green echoes the green of the front cover. This pattern, with a black background, continues from the flap across the inner front page. The spine. The spine of the book measures 7.5 millimeters in width. It is the same mossy green as the front cover. Text fills the spine from the top to the bottom. The tops of the letters are closest to the front cover, and the bottoms of the letters are closest to the back cover. The title and subtitle, Strangers, Essays on the Human and Non-Human, are printed from the top. The font is the same as the font of the title, subtitle, and author's name on the front page. Here it is white and in size 13-point font. After the end of the subtitle, there is a small white dot, then the author's name, Rebecca Tamás. Again, in the same font as the title, in white and size 13-point. Below the author's name is the white outline of the stem which appeared on the front cover. It dashes across the spine between the front and back cover. Between the stem and the bottom of the spine there is small, simple white text which reads Makina Books. Back cover. The smooth, mossy green of the front cover and spine extends around to the back. There are 6 quotes on the back cover, each of them aligned to the left, one index finger width away from the left edge, and a thumb width away from the top of the back cover. Each quote and the attributed authors are written in the same simple font as the quote on the front cover, and in the same way the quotes are in white, and the names are in black bold. The isosceles triangle quotation marks are in white, and the dashes between the quote and the author's name are in black. From the top, the quotes read, Exciting and clear-eyed, Melissa Harrison. Bursting with intellectual generosity, deep wide roots and radical shoots, Max Porter. Rebecca Tamás creates a shifting perspective in her essays, which illuminates while giving unexpected pleasure. Amit Chowdhury. To read Rebecca Tamás is to feel weirdly, uncannily creaturely, and to see all around us as pulsing with meaning. Catherine Angel. Strangers is a much-needed lesson in how to love unconditionally and immeasurably, a dying world. Jessica J. Lee. I loved these essays. They weave together so many thoughts and feelings that were both deeply familiar and pleasurably strange. Olivia Sudzik. One thumb width under the final quote there is more text. The font is the same as used for the author's quote names, in black bold. It reads, Makina Books. Essays, $12.99. Directly below is a black barcode and an ISBN number in a white box. At the right of the back cover, there is a scored indent which runs from the top of the page to the bottom and is around 9 millimeters from the right of the cover. Having traversed across the spine, and the white outline of the stem appears at the bottom right side of the back cover. It squiggles across the lower right corner, moving like the bends of a river, and vanishes off the page again just next to the right side of the barcode. Back inner flap. The inner flap on the inside of the back cover is the same height as the cover and 100 millimeters in width. Just like the inner front flap, this is similar to the width of the palm of an adult. The front face of the flap is the same green as the back cover it leads on from. At the top half of the flap, there is a small title in size 15-point font. It is the same font as the title and author's name on the front cover. Like these, it is black. It reads, "The author." The header is aligned slightly further from the top of the flap than the left and right side, by just a few millimeters. Aligned directly below the header, there is more text in white. The font here is the same simple font as seen on the quote on the front cover. It is in size 10 point. The text reads, Rebecca Tamás's poetry and criticism has been published widely. She is the co-editor of Spells, Occult Poetry for the 21st Century, with Sarah Shin, and her first poetry collection, Witch, was published in 2019 to praise from the Poetry Book Society, The Guardian, Telegraph, Irish Times, TLS, White Review, and the Paris Review. Rebecca is a lecturer in creative writing at York St John University, where she co-curates the York Centre for Writing Poetry series. The inside of the inner back flap is black, with a pattern of outlines like the stem of the leaf twiddling and crisscrossing across it in 3 colours: dark grey, white and green. The mossy green echoes the colour of the front and back cover. This pattern, with a black background, continues from the flap across the inner side of the back cover. The inner back page is black, with a perfect circle made out of the same 2-line outline as the stem seen across the back cover design. The outline is the same green as the cover. From the top and the bottom of the page, the circle is central. From the left to the right of the page, the circle is aligned to the right, and a small section of its right side is concealed within the fold of the back cover page. Within the circle there is a small double leaf motif, as seen on the front cover. Unlike the front cover, the outline and the stems of these leaves are green. They have simple jagged outlines and smooth inner veins. They are both 70 millimeters in length and 40 millimeters in width at their longest and widest points. They are the same leaf in design. The left is a 180-degree flip of the right. The bottom of the left leaf is 90 millimeters from the top of the page. It points ever so slightly downwards to the left side of the page. The tip of the leaf spills over the rim of the circle. The bottom of the right leaf is 140 millimeters from the top of the page. It points slightly upwards towards the right side of the page. It is within the circle. Within the centre of each of the leaves, there is a white circle, around 10 millimeters in diameter. Each of the circles are outlined with a white circular outer ring. Outlined in green, a thin stem comes out from the bottom of each of the leaves. The stem from the left leaf slopes smoothly downwards and over to the right. The stem from the right leaf also slopes smoothly downwards over to the left. The 2 stems meet left of centre, towards the bottom of the circle. They join, and then as one they swoop in a gradual and smooth incline up towards the right side of the page. Close to the edge, the stem curves downwards in an acute angle and slopes off the page at the bottom right.